Hello, and welcome back to Nursing Life 101. We're so excited to have you here as we dive into the world of nursing, sharing our experiences, insights, and a little bit of fun along the way. I'm Christopher.
And I'm Colby. Together, we're here to bring you the laughs, the lessons, and the real-life conversations that nursing textbooks never prepared us for.
And today we're tackling a topic that every nurse has an opinion on: inpatient versus outpatient nursing.
Oh yeah, we're talking shift life versus set schedules, codes versus clinics, and charting at midnight versus clocking out on time.
Whether you're running the floor or running clinic rooms, this one's for you, because both sides have their perks and their pain. So let's start with the basics. What exactly is inpatient nursing?
Inpatient nurses are the ones holding it down 24/7. We're talking bedside care, admissions, discharges, call lights, codes, and caffeine.
Exactly. It's shift-based, team-driven, and honestly, it's where most of us started.
And outpatient, that's the other side of the coin. You've got clinic nurses, procedural units, infusion centers, basically anywhere patients come and go the same day.
The vibe is different. It's faster in some ways, but more predictable. So I will say, most people don't even know that they very much know you have switched outpatient. I've kind of hinted, but haven't actually formally said. And this will have released by the time that I can officially say this. So I will say, I have also officially moved outpatient. I was the interim nurse manager of the transplant clinic outpatient since October, and Martin Luther King Day, January 19th, 2026. It's not the same day every year. I will be the official manager of the transplant clinic. So I also am outpatient. And interestingly enough, when I was being interviewed, someone asked, they were like, do you miss inpatient? And luckily, the differences between inpatient and outpatient are so different that you can learn quite a lot from both. And when answering the question in the interview, I was like, the way that the transplant clinic is ran, it's actually, the title is Transplant Infusion Center and Clinics. So there's an infusion center where we give, so you can still, in the inpatient or outpatient, give the same meds, but it's not as rigorous as inpatient.
Mm-hmm.
Someone comes in, very much similar to the drip bar, where they just come in, not as casually, but they're coming in and they're walking back out. So you get to see that perspective on an outpatient, where inpatient, you're seeing people day in, day out, day in, day out, day in, day out until they're discharged. So that's one difference. Another is that you don't have the same resources. I won't say you have less resources. You don't have the same resources as inpatient. I can remember that in inpatient, you really were able to have, if you ran out of IV tubing, you called the G storeroom, and the G storeroom brought whatever you wanted.
Yeah, it was like a magic fairy, and they just dropped off what you needed.
It was what is the room in Harry Potter? The room of, I can hear all Harry Potter heads really yelling at me right now.
I don't know the answer to this question.
The room of requirement.
Okay.
I think that's it.
I have no idea.
Oh, please tell me I'm right. But anyways, it was like the room that whatever you needed, that's what the
It
room.
was there.
Yeah, it was there. That's not the case for outpatient. Outpatient, you have to be mindful and order the stuff and know that it's going to take maybe a day or two to get here.
Yeah.
And so you can't wait until Friday when you have one IV tubing left and expect to get it by Monday because they don't run 24/7 like a hospital does. So that's something that's different too. I think even management structure, like you're kind of in a unique perspective, Colby, where you are like an assistant nurse manager.
But I'm also the only nurse manager.
Right. Exactly. So like it's interesting. You're more of a dual role there, and you have a director that's over you.
Right.
But for transplant outpatient or ambulatory, however you want to call it, there is no assistant nurse managers. There's just managers.
Right.
And we report to our director, and then our director reports to our administrator. But that director also has the inpatient nurse manager and the inpatient assistant nurse manager under him.
Mhm.
So like it's just interesting to kind of see how that structure is a little bit different too.
Yeah, I would also say, like, on the topic of staff, you're working with a wide range of different staff than some that you will only work with in the ambulatory setting versus what you would work with in the inpatient setting. Like, for example, at your clinic, you guys have MAs or medical assistants.
Oh, yes. CMAs, yeah.
CMAs, yeah, certified medical assistants. And we don't have CMAs inpatient.
Do you have? Oh,
Yeah, I also don't have them in either of my departments, which is
do you have
the
TCAs?
TCAs. What is the T?
Oh, actually, never mind.
Okay, I was like, I don't think so. No, I work with I manage the stress lab, both inpatient and outpatient stress lab, as well as cardiac rehab, and we don't have like patient care techs or medical assistants in that way. I have a cardiology technologist, and they run like EKG and case machines and that kind of stuff. So they're not in the realm of like a nursing assistant, quote unquote.
Okay.
They have like a different kind of certification, and it's more like technology wise and technologist
Okay.
instead of like a patient care technologist. It's just a little bit, it's a different realm. And also work closely with nuclear medicine technologists who run cameras and do injections of different isotopes for camera and all that stuff. So
This
it's
is wild.
Yeah, there's a lot of staff that make different departments in clinics and ambulatory setting work in comparison to how inpatient really runs. I feel like you think inpatient, you're thinking nurses,
Mm-hmm.
patient care techs,
Mm-hmm.
and doctors and APPs.
Right.
That's like the core
That's pretty much it.
core staff.
Yeah.
Yeah, outside of like ancillary, of course you'll have like phlebotomy and all that good stuff. But like for as far as like core staff, that's inpatient. Outpatient is much wider array. In cardiac rehab, I work with exercise physiologists, physical therapists, and nurses. So yeah.
Yeah, you make a very good point. Like nursing has always been like you get involved multidisciplinary, like inpatient versus outpatient, both. But I feel like there's a more intimacy to the the multidisciplinary relationships that you have outpatient than you do inpatient. I don't know if maybe it's because even more so, like, I mean, you made a very good point by naming off some of it, but like transplant has their own nutritionists, they have their own pulmonary function, so respiratory therapists, they have their own echo techs, they have their own social workers, they have the surgeons, they have their own pharmacists, they have their residents, like all of these things. And I'm like, so like using all those different perspectives and being able to, like, I really could sit and name like quite a few different people. And it's like, when I was in inpatient, like I saw them But I didn't realize how many people, like we have our own business people, like that does financial authorizations for things. Like,
Yeah, you definitely work with a lot of those people that you listed inpatient, but I do agree with you, like the intimacy. I think maybe because while it's a lot of disciplinaries, I think it is smaller groups and more of like consistent people. I do think like also an inpatient, like it's a lot of rotating out because we work in a teaching facility, and so there's peoples of all level. There's people of all levels, I should say, in their education or in their training. And so they have to rotate out things. So like while we work with pharmacists and residents and even physical therapists, like, some of those people are always assigned to one area. There's still a group of them that are also rotating out. When you're in the outpatient setting, I feel like it's mostly like dedicated team of people, individuals, I should say, instead of just dedicated. We're all dedicated to the work. But as far as dedicated to the specific role, it's like the same group of people. It feels a little bit smaller. It's definitely more intimate. We're definitely working even closer together in that setting, or at least it feels that way because it's such a small, a lot of people, but smaller. It feels like a smaller group because it's the same people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's something about just repetition.
Yeah.
The reason why people learn languages, they repeat things multiple times. The way you remembered pharmacology, you probably repeated a couple of things. Like, just all those things, you get to know people in a very different light when you see them on multiple occasions. But, Colby had mentioned a little bit earlier, it's something different between inpatient and outpatient is that just the whole time, like time inpatient and time outpatient is different. And I think that will kind of segue to some pros and cons versus the two. And so let's kind of dabble. I will let
A double debate.
a dabble debate.
A double debate. We'll debate the pros and cons. So I'll take team inpatient and you can rep team outpatient.
Perfect. Game on.
All right. The pros of inpatient: you see everything. It's full exposure to critical care, teamwork, crisis management. You build strong clinical instincts and fast. You have to. And let's be honest, you're never going to get bored.
True, but let me speak for the outpatient folks. There's better hours, usually no nights, and definitely no holidays. Predictable routines, so you can actually have a little life outside of work. And you get to see long-term patient progress, which can be pretty fulfilling.
Okay, that's fair. But cons?
Oh, I've got a few. Outpatient can feel repetitive. There's less adrenaline and sometimes less autonomy.
Meanwhile, inpatient cons, let's list them. Burnout, staffing chaos, charting nightmares. You leave a 12-hour shift feeling like you ran a marathon with a laptop.
Or wow, or cow. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Basically, you feel like you've been going all day. I think I relate. Oh, man. Okay, so as I mentioned before, like having the unique perspective of working both now, inpatient definitely has pros, and I think it's a great spot to start your career. You really are going to learn a lot and learn it fast. But now, like all the positives that you just listed for outpatient folks, better hours. Yes. Like it's so nice not having to be at the hospital at 6:30 in the morning and then staying there until 8 p.m. at night.
Right.
It's so wonderful to get to work at 7:30 or 8 o'clock and leave when the sun is still up. Because
even in the winter.
It really is wild times for me because, after 12, almost like 11 and a half, almost 12 years of inpatient nursing, I've never had to do that before.
Right.
I've never gotten to do that before. Another wild thing is not having to work holidays. And like, what a weird thing that is because again, we've talked about holidays.
Right.
I used to make whatever switches I could to make sure I got, off my New Year's Eve, and I fully.
Choose a little Evil Knievel trying to get.
Yeah, I will do whatever I have to do. So it was really strange having both Thanksgiving and Christmas off and off New Year's Day this year. I didn't know what to do with myself. I was like, this is weird. I still worked on either side of those holidays, so I could, but the thing is I could have taken PTO.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the thing. Yeah. And yeah, especially as management, you could have taken that as PTO.
I could have. Now, I didn't want to blow through all my PTO because I will say my one gripe with outpatient, at least the way our healthcare system does it, is that you don't get paid holidays. And I get why, because it has to be fair probably for all employees. I'm sure that's what it is. But if I worked for a private office, a private clinic for a private office, and I was the nurse manager and that office was closed for Christmas, like I can't work. And that's the same thing here. Like our clinic is closed for Christmas. I don't have the opportunity to work. I would. Like if given the opportunity, I would work Christmas. If we want to get paid for that day, we have to pull it out of our PTO. It's not automatically paid out to us. And I think that is a little janky. My personal opinion. I think that's a little shisty. I think if you're going to choose to close the clinic, you should also give the paid holiday. But that's my personal opinion.
I mean, and you're speaking strictly as someone who works in the clinic, not a manager.
Correct.
Because you could just
we can fudge our hours, not fudge our hours like fake it.
Please don't say that.
not fudge like fake it. We can work
adjust.
we can adjust. That's a better word. Not fudge. Sorry, that was a terrible word to choose. We can adjust our hours. Like for example, like Christopher said, why are you taking PTO? You could work 4/10s, which is so true. I think that was something I didn't think of in the time at that time, and I was just like, well, I guess I'm going to use 8 hours of PTO for Christmas, but I worked the day before and the day after.
No.
So there are ways as management that we could work around that, especially because we're salary, and so like we're going to get paid, no matter if we're working like an 80-hour week or if we're working our 40-hour week, we're getting paid the same amount. So we can make our own hours, within reasonable. I think they're like school. It's so wild. It's also really wild, and again, this could just be our health system, but the culture of outpatient versus inpatient, very different, is what I've learned.
What do you mean?
So, inpatient, my experience with inpatient, very by the book to the T. My outpatient experience has been way more lax. Like it's a lot of things inpatient are to. I'll let you give it in a minute.
Okay.
But a lot of a lot of policy is purposefully left in a gray area and left to management discretion and manager interpretation of the policy. And inpatient is way more, I would say, strict with their interpretation or discretions. In my experience so far in outpatient is quite the opposite, in that my director and supervisors that I work congruently with have a looser interpretation in the gray area than I was expecting, because I'm coming from a practice of following things more strictly and taking the more severe approach versus in the gray area taking a more relaxed approach.
Do you think that's because of the fact that it's your director? Like,
it could just be like my specific director's style of leadership.
Yeah.
It definitely, and it's hard to say one way or the other. Like I would say my interpretation of what you've shared with me is that it may have been a little more loosey-goosey where you were prior to you coming in. And I think you're bringing some of your inpatient like strictness to kind of clean up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
That is definitely what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But also like it does also help having structure is important, and we can have these gray lines or gray spaces, gray areas, but being able to say to your team, hey, this is a gray area, but in order to make it equitable, it is what I can see is equitable for everyone, I'm going to put this gray area and a little fence.
Yeah. I'm going to make it black or white.
Yeah. Or at least darker.
Yeah.
Not charcoal gray, not smoky gray. I don't even know if those are two. I'm a guy, y'all.
Heather gray is like a lighter gray.
Okay, there it is. That one. I'm a guy. I see gray. But another thing, kind of going back to what I was saying in the interview when I was like, this is really close to inpatient, is that the clinic is almost similar to inpatient in the terms of like you get the people in, you're rooming them, you're doing a little bit of a little mini assessment, and even when they come to like infusions, like it's this one. They're coming in and they're getting their belatacept or thymo, and sometimes they have some type of reaction, and it's then that you really bring in a lot of your inpatient experience, and you're like, oh, okay, call it when we can't call a like emergency response there in terms of the hospital in general. So it's almost like you're calling the ambulance, and the ambulance comes in and helps out. So,
yeah. Sorry. Go ahead and finish your thought.
No, I'm good.
Yeah, well, when you say calling in the ambulance, that's another thing that's very different from inpatient versus outpatient.
Yeah.
And in my eyes right now, it's a con, but I'm so used to like if there's an emergent situation, we have everything we need right there.
Right there.
And we have like a system for code. There's a code phone. Each department, somebody holds it, and we will respond if there's an emergency, someone from each department. But I mean, truly, there's only so much that we can do in this situation. We still have to call 911. The rescue squad still comes. They take the patient to the emergency department or wherever they need to go. Whereas, in inpatient, obviously if you're dealing with a code or an emergent situation, if it's an emergent situation, you have the MET team or your rapid response nurses that come, or you have the code team that comes if it's a full code. And that is a whole different process. It's a huge difference than what I'm used to.
Right. And that's what I was kind of hinting at when I was like, you have different resources. Like
for sure.
You're not completely alone. You're not in the desert with nothing but your pee to drink. But like you do have other nurses, other nurse managers. Usually you're closer to physicians, and you can ask the physicians who can help run codes and all that stuff. So there's all those, and they're like readily available, but it is different not being able to have what we call the red shirts come in and help out. Like it's wild. I don't know.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy. I mean, we still have code carts.
Same.
And everybody is required to be ACLS in both of my departments, which is great.
Same.
Yeah, and there's always a physician or an APP that could like technically run the code. Even if we're all ACLS, we still usually by our health system standard we're not really allowed to. But if there's an APP or a doctor there, they're kind of the ones that run it. But yeah, it was like we still have all the things. It's just processes are really different, and it's a little bit, in my opinion, it feels a little bit slower, and that's a little bit scary. Like I said, we will respond to any kind of like urgent thing going on in our building. Where the stress lab and cardiac rehab is also the cardiology clinic, as well as a few other clinics in that building, but it's mainly cardiology heavy in that building. And we had a patient that looked like shit getting checked in for just like a regular old cardiology checkup, and we got called out to the lobby, and turns out the man was in AFib RVR and was likely septic from having a Foley, and so we had to respond to that. But it was very weird because it was like, oh, I am the Met nurse.
You're the one.
And I also have like the most recent inpatient care, not to say that like I was the most experienced, because I work with a wide range of experienced nurses with backgrounds all over the place, which is awesome. But I felt like I kind of like, I was like, whoop, flipped right back into like my inpatient nurse hat, and it actually felt good, because I was like, I know what to do. And it's been a while since I've felt like instinctually knowing what to do, because I'm in a big learning phase right now. But yeah, it was interesting, because we did everything we could to a point, and then we had to wait for the rescue squad to get there. So it was interesting.
Yeah, and that's honestly like, and we'll talk about this in a minute, but I want to kind of give a little hint. Someone asked me, do I want a Clin One in the clinic? And I'll just leave it at that, because we'll talk about this in a little bit. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think a good way to sum it up is, let's be real though, outpatient nurses have lunch breaks that actually happen, which has been so fun that I get to eat when I'm hungry. That's probably the biggest pro.
Oh, honestly, yeah.
Yeah.
You're probably right. Meanwhile, inpatient nurses eat their salad at the nurses' station while hanging antibiotics.
No, just kidding, Jaco.
Can't do that.
I've never done that before. I've never eaten my lunch at the nurse's station, Jaco.
Oh, no.
LOL. I've eaten every meal in my day at the nurse's station.
Well, it's funny, because I have a standing desk, and I didn't eat yesterday until 4:00. And I was walking back with a person, and I was like, oh, I'll actually sit down and eat. And I stayed standing and ate the whole time. I was like,
shoveling. Why did you wait until 4?
You know me.
Oh, Lord.
I get busy, and my stomach doesn't give me any type of cues anymore.
I really shouldn't talk, because I take a working lunch. Like I'll stop, if we're in a point where I don't have I have a break in tests, I'll go heat up my lunch, then go to my office and log in and start answering emails while I'm eating.
Yeah, okay. Get off my case.
Yeah. But I still eat at an appropriate hour, which is wild, because I used to not eat until 4:00 when I was working inpatient. All right, guys, it's time for your medical news minute, the part where we pretend we read more journals than just TikTok comments.
Facts. Let's see what's new in medicine this week and how it might actually show up in our practice.
Universal donor kidney breakthrough.
Researchers announced a huge development. Scientists successfully created a universal donor kidney.
Basically, they found a new way to strip the blood type antigens from donor kidneys so that they can match any recipient,
which could completely change the game for transplant wait lists.
Right. Imagine the impact for patients waiting months, even years, for a compatible organ.
It's still early, but as transplant nurses, this could be massive.
So this is your bread and butter. How many universal donor kidneys have we used at our health system?
None.
What?
No, yeah. And interesting enough,
I'm surprised.
We have not used any, but I've been doing a lot of research recently in terms of just shortening kidney stays and just trying to figure out how to, as I'm pretty sure this is a universal United States thing in the present moment. Hospitals are really struggling in terms of capacity because of these respiratory illnesses that are going around.
Woof, yeah.
And so, trying to help decant some of the inpatient people, I'm trying to find out some of the, different ways to trial. I mean, really, medicine is not a perfect science, and it's, you just kind of ask different things. But to not segue too far and bring it back, we have not used any of the universal donor kidneys. What does this mean for transplant, though? In terms of, as very basic, we have 4 different blood types. We have A, we have B, we have AB, and we have O. And if you didn't know that, that's okay. You must be in the first couple of weeks of nursing school. And that's okay. You'll learn. That's all right. You'll get there. And so with that, your body cannot take but certain types. Like if you are an A, you can't take an F. You can't take a B
Right.
because it's not going to work. You can't take an AB. But interestingly enough, we have done some so it's weird. There's this one, it's called ABO incompatible kidney, but it's like, how did they say it? It was the nephrologist, the transplant nephrologist loves to teach, and he also loves football. And so he was like, okay, sorry, I misspoke. It's actually non-A1 to B kidney transplants. And interestingly enough, when you are dealing with immunity, a lot of people think of, getting vaccines. They get vaccines, it helps them. The body recognizes the vaccine, and then that allows them to protect themselves because the body recognizes like the flu or COVID faster. And so in terms of immunity, like your body is really good at learning and it gets better over time, right? Well, it's not the same when it comes to blood. When you are born, if you are born A, you have absolutely all type of immunity against B. It doesn't matter if you have been introduced to that or not, you will constantly reject any type of B blood, right? That's why we have all these different types of blood. And so when you are looking at in terms of kidneys, in terms of their transplanting, you normally, if you're type A blood type, you would reject a B blood type, right? Well, interestingly enough, we can do something called non-A1 to B kidney transplants. And so that means that it's a kidney that's a blood type A that can go to a person that has blood type B. So how does that work? Well, luckily one of my transplant nephrologists was able to kind of help explain that a little bit more in terms of an analogy, and he's a huge football fan, and I can take it or leave it, but it's interesting how he put it. He was like, so when we're doing non-A1 to B transplants, we draw different types of titers, and these titers are progressively less concentrated. So there's like a 1/2, there's a 1/4, there's a 1/8, and there's a 1/16, and I think there's a 1/32 or 32nd. And in those moments, you have it's more dilute, and if you are not reactive to like a certain point, like if you are non-reactive to all the way, you're not reactive to 1/2, you're not reactive to 1/4, you're not reactive to 1/8, and even I think it even goes all the way down to like 1/16. You have a very good likelihood that your body will be able to accept this kidney. And the way that the transplant nephrologist talked about it was that think of a A1 kidney as think of your body as a whatever football team you want, but just because I have these particular teams in my mind, we'll say your body is a Denver Broncos stadium, right? And I'm sure there's probably a name, and unfortunately, I just don't know it, of the stadium. But it's a Denver Broncos stadium. They're packed out. They have every single stadium filled with majority Denver Broncos fans, right? Well, then we're going to give you a kidney, and those kidneys are Seahawks. They're the Seahawk football team. And in those moments where you have a Seahawk football team, you have either a non A1 Seahawk football fan, or you have a A1 football fan. Okay. And so with a non A1, no, let me start with the A1 football fan because it's pretty evident, right? So your body recognizes an A1 Seahawk football fan as someone who is straight decked out, has the hat, has the jersey, has the face paint, has probably like 3 to 4 different signs. They have, I don't know if they have like a foam finger, like, it is overtly evident that this person is a Seahawk fan. And because of that, you can't just sneak into the football stadium. Like, it's obvious you're there. Like, so when you're obvious that you're there, you're able to, you're the titer that is like reacting at 1/2 or 1/4 or 1/8, right? And so the body's going to be like, no, get out, right? Like, you're going to get hackled. You're going to get terrorized. You're not going to be able to be James Bond and sneak your way in, right? Or my fun reference, you're not going to be able to be Sly Cooper and sneak your way in. But if you're a non-A1 kidney, you are the football fan that has a little keychain attached to his or her belt loop, right? And that keychain says, go Seahawks. And it's in those moments where you're like, oh, I don't know what type of fan he is or she is because they have a shirt that kind of covers that belt loop, right? And so with immunosuppression and the immunosuppression drugs that we can give, you can actually trick the body to be like, oh, this kidney's fine. It's not type A because you're sneaking, you're Sly Cooper, you're sneaking in. You're doing the little shuffle around the area. Like, you're able to infiltrate the Denver Broncos stadium without too many people realizing that you are a Seahawks fan. And that is why, like, it's so, like, we're almost on the cusp, right? We're almost there in terms of being able to completely trick the body into receiving kidneys that are not their actual blood type. But also, like, being able to have this organ where literally it does not matter if you're A, if you're B, if you're AB, if you're O, like, it is going to be able to work despite all of that. There's literally,
awesome.
there are more people that die in a year that get transplanted
Then actually get a new
right.
organ.
And so, like, this could significantly help a lot of people.
How new is this research? Do you know?
It was, of course I do. I'm pretty sure I have it somewhere. The reason why the universal donor kidney becomes what it is because they use enzymes to strip blood type antigens from donor kidneys, and it effectively converts it to the universal type 0. Geez.
Oh, blood.
Universal type 0. Universal type O, with the first successful human model transplant in a brain-dead recipient, showing it functioned without immediate rejection. And a breakthrough that could revolutionize transplants by removing blood type barriers and reducing wait lists. So it was only done in someone who wasn't living. I'm trying to see where it was done. What's UBC? UBC Faculty of Medicine.
University of British Columbia.
British Columbia.
So Canada?
Department of Pathology and Laboratory Medicine decided to do this. But this was an article that was written in October of 2025.
Oh, so this is really recent stuff.
Yeah.
Well, it's exciting for the future of transplant, and that's awesome if they could figure out how to do it successfully with kidneys and think about other organs that we could be successful in doing it in the future, with the right research and studies. The kidney alone is going to change how people survive, kidney disease. But if we could expand on that and think of other organs that it would also work for, that's insane. That's incredible.
Wild.
Yeah.
So I was very shocked when I saw that.
Wow. Yeah. And that wraps up our Medical News Minute. Now back to the part of nursing they don't teach in textbooks.
The real life stuff. Caffeine, chaos, and care plans. So let's settle it. Inpatient or outpatient?
Depends on who you ask and where they are in their career, I guess.
All right, let's start with our Clin Ones then. For Clin Ones or new grads, inpatient usually gives more exposure. You learn how to juggle priorities, you manage acute patients, and you find your voice.
100%. You get your hands dirty, literally and figuratively. But if you start outpatient, you'll master communication and patient education early on.
True.
All right. Well, then we have the veterans, which are people with at least a year of experience. Mid-level clinicians, they might crave stability. That's when outpatient starts looking really good.
Yeah. After years of night shifts and holidays, outpatient feels like a reward for surviving the battle.
Literally. Let's bring back the question that someone proposed to you the other day.
Oh, yeah, I forgot I said that.
Do you want a Clin One in the clinic?
So my first immediate response is no, they need to serve their time.
It's like nurses eating their young. They need to serve their time.
But I still, it's not the nursing eating their young thing. I want you to be able to experience, there's critical thinking that you absorb when you are inpatient.
That you're forced to learn.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're forced to learn it. And there's something about practice. You practice that critical thinking. You put it out into practice. You're actually doing it day in, day out. Yes, it sucks that you have to be in for holidays. Yes, it sucks that you have to be there for weekends. But it's those moments that give you the full appreciation of when you come back to outpatient and you're like, oh, I saw Joe Schmo when he first got his kidney, and now I'm seeing him come back outpatient, and I see how the outpatient nurses are either triaging him to go back inpatient because he's still sick as a dog, or he's so much better and he's walking back out. There's an appreciation in the outpatient that you don't get to truly feel if you don't get the inpatient. It's a continuum. It's a huge continuum.
I think also you have so much more perspective, I think, starting inpatient, and then if your goal is to get outpatient, start inpatient, get the critical thinking skills that you were just talking about, understand how inpatient works so that when you go outpatient and you learn the other side of it, you have this unique perspective. Like you were saying, like someone comes in and whether or not you're triaging, then you know how sick someone is. And you see them come in, you're like, oh no, you're way too sick for
Right.
us to do something at the infusion clinic or in the clinic. Like we need to send you to the ED to be admitted to the floor. Like we need to get a little bit deeper. And like that, having that knowledge base, it brings so much value to your outpatient skills. It's not that you can't be a great outpatient nurse without inpatient experience, but the value and perspective makes you a more well-rounded nurse in the outpatient field if you have the inpatient experience.
Yeah, I agree. And so yeah, that's why though my immediate response was like kind of rude, but I will defend the whole I don't want a Clin One, and not yet at least.
Yeah.
I have thoughts, but
Yeah. I think it's a fair initial reaction and judgment call. I think the only thing that I kind of had a little thought that just popped into my head is from working inpatient for so long, I saw a wide array of nursing capabilities. And some people are not cut out for inpatient.
yeah.
And I mean that in the nicest way, but like
Right.
some people just don't have the critical thinking just never really fully clicks in.
But then
Or
why do you want them outpatient?
no, listen, just let me finish.
Yes.
That, or maybe it's not that. Maybe it's that their time management isn't great and they're incredibly book smart, but
Yes.
like they just can't get everything done because they're all over the place. They're unorganized.
Yeah.
And not to say that no, but that's totally untrue. That's so fake news. But and I'm not saying that as like, oh, well, they'll be better clinic nurses. The thing is the pace, like we talked about, the pace is slower. It's more routine. It's more predictable. Some people just thrive more in that kind of work setting than they would in an inpatient setting where it's like pretty much 24-hour chaos. You have to be prepared for any situation. Like you have to just be on your toes constantly and be ready to pivot and be flexible. Whereas inpatient, if you're not of the mind that it can easily fall into that role, outpatient might be better for you.
Yeah.
Is it the most ideal for a hiring manager? No, of course you want someone with some kind of experience and background. And so it would be like a special case that I would be like, okay, let me talk to whoever they are, whoever's manager is managing them right now. I know that we've definitely, in my almost 12 years inpatient on the floor, we had people that just weren't going to cut it. And instead of completely firing them, they found them a different place that worked better for them in the health system. And sometimes that's the best situation for that individual. And so if that means that I have somebody from the inpatient floor that I used to work on and they say, hey, this person is incredibly intelligent, they're really smart, but it's this and this is why it's not going to work out inpatient. Do you think you could have a clinic spot for them? Or do you think, sometimes there's a slower environment helps people learn a little bit better. And then then not to say that they wouldn't be an incredible outpatient or clinic or whatever nurse. So there's like special circumstances, I guess, that I would say, okay, for that Clin One. But no, in general, I think my first instinct would be the same as you. Like, no, I want someone with experience, like someone I don't have to explain like the very basics to.
Yeah, it's fun. I would love to hear somebody's defense to like
see if anybody had anything else to share on that point of view.
Right. Try to change my mind.
Yeah. Try to change your mind. Like I said, I think the only thing that I could think of is that I had a working relationship with the manager above them, and trusted that their opinion of this individual being better outpatient, that sort of situation.
Right.
I do think that easily brings us to veterans. I'd rather have a veteran nurse
100%
working in the clinic. And I think in like I said before, like you get to a point in your career, or some people, most people get to a point in their career where they crave stability, where they, a 9 to 5, whatever 8-hour shift your clinic is open, like, just works better for some people. We talk about this a lot, or we have in the past, that, we're a unique profession, and that most shifts are 3 12-hour shifts or 4 10-hour shifts, but the rest of the world generally works 5 8 hours. And so if you have a family, your kids are in school 5 days a week, or if you have a partner, maybe they work a regular standard job that's 5 days a week. So sometimes moving from 3 12s into a 5-day a week job makes the sense for your lifestyle. Again, the predictability, the hours, a lunch break, all of these things. As someone who's worked so long at the bedside, I'm finally getting things that, normal everyday people get at their jobs. It's really nice. It's wild. Like, who would have thought? Not me. Never in a million years.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and I hate to harp on this, but it's important. Critical thinking when you're outpatient is important. Like, you need to know, like you said, you need to know when they're sick and you can't do anything in the clinic.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something about there's nursing intuition that is bred when you are a veteran. Like, you've seen things.
Yeah. Yeah, I can give you a perfect example. It happened yesterday. We also do the IV diuresis in the stress lab from the patients that are upstairs in the cardiology clinic. So they tried to order 200 IV Lasix the other day, and I said no. I was like, hey, I'd never even given 200 inpatient. I said inpatient, mind you.
Wow.
I was like, also, this patient's kidney function. So this is the critical thinking, right? Like, I was like, that, first of all, why would you even order 200 of IV Lasix? But second, look at the patient's kidney function.
Right.
It's in the toilet. So we're going to give him outpatient IV diuresis, an insane dose, when he already has baseline kidney disease and poor kidney function currently, because we got the labs. I was like, so we're going to kill his kidneys and send him on his way?
Yeah.
I was like, heck no. I was like, first of all, why don't we try Bumex?
Right.
Let's do 8 of Bumex.
Right. That's
okay,
that's
so
much
that's
better
like
dose.
that's one example of why critical thinking skills need to be in play. Another example, we had a patient literally yesterday who was at the clinic, and they were like, "Oh, she needs to be IV diuresis. She sounds very volume up. She's not peed a lot. Whatever. Her lung sounds are wet, and her weight is up." So they were like, "Can we add her on?" So we did an add on. She gets wheeled into our triage room, and one of the nurses gets her vital signs, and her heart rate's like in the 120s, and they're like, "Wait a minute." They get her on the telemonitor, and she's an AFib. So she's an AFib RVR. She's volume up. They want to get, and I said, "I'm sorry, I'm going to pump the brakes here." I was like, she needs to go to the ED to get evaluated.
Right.
She's going to get admitted.
Right.
And want to know what happened? She went to the ED and got admitted. I was like, it's not like AFib is not her baseline. 120s is not her baseline. We're going to give her a bunch of Lasix and she's going to go home. No, she's going to need multiple days of IV diuresis. And if she doesn't convert once she gets the volume off and the demand of her heart working so hard doesn't flip her back into sinus, she might need to get cardioverted. Right. If that's the case, then they need to do a CT scan and clear her left atrial appendage, make sure she doesn't have any clots. Like, this is classic textbook inpatient scenario. Right. And a nurse without experience, I don't know, would necessarily know that. They would just say, okay, I have orders for IV diuresis. Right. I'm going to give the IV diuresis.
Unfortunately, you won't know that.
Yeah.
And it's nothing against you as a new nurse. It's just something you don't know because you don't have the experience.
Yeah, exactly. It comes with experience.
Yeah. As a manager, you see how both depend on each other. Inpatient stabilizes patients, and outpatient sustains their health long term.
There are two halves of the same system, and the nurses in each world share one big thing: the need for balance.
Yeah. And it's fun because now I will never say this and truly believe it, but I am my manager inpatients equal. Like
Mm.
we are now both managers, even though she will always run circles around me. But like now I'm conversing with her and having manager conversations, even though I was her assistant
I
nurse
would say like
manager,
even
like it's
more
different.
now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's different. And now even much more now because I send patients to her and she sends patients to me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's we're having these conversations. I I remember she sent an email about a patient that had a very, very poor care partner support system.
Mm.
And she was like, "We need to come up with a plan." And I was like, "Yeah, you're right." And so, like, I mean, the two of us were like,
Yeah.
we got to collaborate to figure this out.
Right. Because both teams are going to be taking care of this
Right.
patient. If the patient ends up doing well from a health standpoint, you are probably going to be the one that sees them more often.
Right.
And but regardless, if they're inpatient right now, they need to come up with a plan now. It's very collaborative, that's for sure.
So it's fun to kind of see that lens in terms of like, and even in the assistant nurse manager role in inpatient, when I would go over to outpatient, that's actually one thing that I'm really hoping to kind of help bridge is that yes, we are very collaborative in terms of we send patients to each other, but outpatient doesn't necessarily converse with inpatient that much. Like if outpatient is doing activities, usually outpatient people go. If inpatient is doing an activity, usually inpatient people
Oh,
go.
you want the
I
staff to be
want
more
right.
collaborative.
We are transplant, right?
Mhm.
We should all be going to these things. We should all be collaborating to,
That's fun.
I
That
mean,
could be a really fun outlook. And then I think would help with the patients, because
yeah,
your patient is inpatient, they're really sick and they haven't been really sick yet. It's their first time,
hmm
kind of circling the drain after or before transplant, and they've only worked with the nurses in the clinic, and
right,
now these inpatient nurses can be like, "Oh, so and so. Yeah, there's that piece that brings some comfort when there's a connection that they can kind of make for
right,
sure."
yeah. I think there's an importance in service lines
Mm.
being true teams. Like,
Mhm.
yes, there's inpatient and there's team inpatient. Yes, there's team outpatient. I mean, we just kind of did that, but as a service line, we're all taking care of that one patient that service line is. And so I should be able to be like, a kidney patient comes to me and it's like, man, I'm really nervous. Like, I'm waiting for the call, but like I've really enjoyed your team and they've been really sweet, they've been really nice. I can say with confidence, "Oh, there are just as great people over there. Some of them are such. Like you'll have a
Yeah.
great time with them. I've broken bread with them in terms of an old church saying." And like I think there's an importance to that because then that gives a little
Yeah,
bit of like, "Oh,
I
I
agree.
agree. Like, like we can be together and I don't know. There's just something about that. And I think
I
we
love
need to do better than
I
that.
say I love that idea. I can't wait to see how. And it's like so cool having like you specifically like, having worked years with that team
Mhm.
inpatient and now are in the outpatient, like you're in such a unique position to bring the two together and really make that vision reality. And I agree with you. I think it's such a good idea for the benefit of the patients. And ultimately we go back to that. We want to deliver safe, expert, patient care.
Right.
And I think that's such a brilliant idea, and you are gonna be able, like, I can totally see you being able to like bridge that gap at the benefit of the patient, and that's awesome. Now I'm like, how can I do this for cardiology? Like, let me think about that. But it's got me brainstorming over here, and I think that's just so smart.
Yeah. So Ultimately, inpatient builds you and outpatient preserves you.
Oh, I like that. And every nurse eventually figures out which one feels like home.
Yeah. All right. Class dismissed. That's a wrap for today's session of Nursing Life 101.
We hope this episode helped you see both sides of the nursing world, because whether you're inpatient or outpatient, you're still part of the same mission.
You can find us on Twitter/X at NurseLife, Lyfe 101, Facebook at Nursing Life, Lyfe 101, or Instagram at nursing_Lyfe_101.
Don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a review. And tell us which team you're on, hashtag Team Inpatient or hashtag Team Outpatient.
Until next time, take care of yourselves, your patients, and your peace.
Oh, and your peace.